Hello, Heartland fans, and welcome to my YouTube channel. The unthinkable has happened. Amy Fleming, the heart and soul of Heartland, is at the center of a devastating twist in the shocking season finale. She has held everything together through love, loss, and an unbreakable bond with horses. But now her fate is hanging by a thread. This is the moment no one saw coming, a heartbreak that will change everything. The future of Heartland itself is on the line. Are you ready for the most heart-wrenching, game-changing moment in the show's history? Brace yourself. This is a ride you won't forget. The season began on a note of optimism. Amy Fleming had just achieved a major breakthrough in her career. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she was truly making progress, working with some of the most challenging horses she had ever encountered. Heartland seemed more united than ever. The family was finding personal victories, and while Ty's memory still lingered in the air like a shadow, Amy seemed to be moving forward. She had become stronger with each passing day, slowly navigating life without him as the ranch continued to thrive. But beneath the surface, something was changing. Small, almost imperceptible shifts began to make Amy uneasy. It started with things she could explain away. A misplaced tool here, an unfamiliar unease in the horse's eyes there. Conversations with her family members began to carry an unexpected weight, and the once effortless interactions with her loved ones now felt strained. Amy tried to dismiss these feelings, but deep down, something didn't feel right. It wasn't just the usual stress of running Heartland and carrying the legacy of Ty Borden. This was different. The unease wasn't just in her own heart. Lou, once a pillar of support, had started to retreat into herself, her thoughts constantly elsewhere. Peter, too, seemed distant, as though there was something he wasn't sharing with her. Jack, the steady foundation of the family, was quieter than usual. He seemed to be staring off into the distance, as if he, too, could sense that something was amiss. Amy couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming, a storm she wasn't prepared for, and neither was Heartland. Then, in the dead of night, the call came. It was urgent, filled with a sense of panic. Amy rushed to the phone, her heart pounding, her mind already racing through all the possible scenarios. She didn't recognize the voice, but the words sent a chill down her spine. "You need to come to the ranch now." Something's wrong. It's about Ty. Her heart skipped a beat. Could it be that the legacy of Ty Borden, the very thing she had been trying to protect, was in jeopardy once again? Could it be an intruder, someone threatening her family's safety? Amy had to know. She grabbed her coat, dashed out of bed, and rushed to the ranch, her mind spiraling with fear. When she arrived, the ranch felt eerily quiet. The horses were uneasy, restless, the kind of unsettled energy Amy had never encountered before. The barn door stood ajar, and as Amy stepped inside, she was met with an unsettling sight. A single cryptic note pinned to the wall. The words burned into her mind. "The past can't stay buried." Her heart sank. The message wasn't just a warning, it was a sign that something much bigger, something far darker, was at play. Amy stood frozen, staring at the note, wondering what it meant. Was this a reminder of the past, a warning from a time she thought was long behind her? Or was it a harbinger of something more sinister to come? With no answers in sight, Amy couldn't help but feel the weight of everything pressing down on her. She was determined to face whatever was coming, to fight for her family, for Heartland. But she had no idea what that fight would cost her, or who, if anyone, would survive the coming storm. Days passed since Amy's unsettling discovery in the barn, yet the tension at Heartland only thickened. No matter how hard she tried to move on, an unshakable sense of unease lingered. It felt as though something unseen was closing in, wrapping around them like a tightening noose. She kept herself busy with the horses, clinging to the familiar rhythm of work, but nothing felt the same. The cryptic note haunted her thoughts. Its chilling message echoed in her mind. The past can't stay buried. Amy had always been Heartland's anchor, the one who held everything together. But now, the weight of it all pressed down on her. Her confidence, once unwavering, had begun to crack. Every creak of the floorboards, every cautious glance from those around her felt like an unspoken warning, an omen of something lurking just beyond sight. The ranch, once her refuge, felt different now. The air had changed, and the walls seemed to be closing in. She wasn't the only one who noticed. Lou, always the optimist, seemed preoccupied, her mind drifting elsewhere. Peter had grown distant, burdened by something he wouldn't or couldn't share. Even Jack, the family's steady rock, seemed troubled. His eyes often lingered on the horizon, as if sensing a storm no one else could see. One evening, as Amy walked through the barn, a sudden chill prickled her skin. The shadows stretched longer, and the quiet felt heavier. She paused, her pulse quickening, her senses sharpening. Something was off. A faint rustling behind her made her spin around, her heart hammering. Nothing. Just the stillness of the barn, the gentle shifting of the horses. She exhaled, shaking her head. It's just the stress, she told herself. The weight of Ty's legacy, the expectations pressing down on her. It was all becoming too much. But no matter how hard she tried to dismiss it, the feeling remained. Everywhere she went, it followed. The eerie sensation of unseen eyes watching, waiting. Something was out there, and sooner or later it would reveal itself. The following morning, the unease deepened when Amy received another call. This time, the number was blocked. Her pulse quickened as she answered the phone, an instinctive sense of dread already taking hold. The voice on the other end was distorted, hollow and cold, like someone trying to hide their true identity. Amy Fleming, the voice rasped. You think you've outrun the past, but it's catching up to you. The things you've buried, they're rising again. And this time, there's no escape. The line went dead before Amy could even react. She stood frozen, the phone clutched tightly in her hand. Who was this? What past were they referring to? And why did it feel so personal? Amy had no answers, only questions. She tried to brush it off as a cruel prank, but deep down she knew better. This wasn't just a random threat, it was a warning, one she couldn't ignore. For the rest of the day, Amy couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The ranch, which had always been her safe haven, now felt suffocating. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of the wind outside made her jump. The horses, too, were restless. Their usual calm demeanor was replaced by nervous energy. Amy's connection with them had always been special, almost intuitive. But now she felt that same unease reflected in their eyes. Lou, noticing Amy's growing agitation, tried to comfort her. But even she seemed unsettled. You're not just imagining this, Amy said, her voice tinged with concern. Something's off. We all feel it. And then, just as things seemed to spiral further, Amy had a chance encounter that would change everything. The next morning, Amy relayed Caleb's cryptic warning to Lou and Jack. The weight of his words pressed heavily on them, and even Jack, usually steady as a rock, seemed unsettled. We've faced plenty over the years, Amy, Jack said gravely. But this feels different. We need to find out who's behind this and fast. He was right. There was no more time to waste. The storm wasn't just on the horizon, it was already closing in. Determined to find answers, Amy turned her attention to a stack of legal documents she had unearthed days earlier. Sitting at the kitchen table, she spread the yellowed pages before her, her fingers tracing over faded ink. They weren't just records of land disputes, they were something more, something sinister. As she sifted through the files, one name leapt out at her, freezing her in place. Oliver Rhodes. Her pulse pounded in her ears. That name had haunted her mother, Marion Fleming, for years. Amy had always known that Marion had secrets, but she had never understood the depth of them until now. Rhodes wasn't just a businessman, he was a man with a vendetta. His dealings were shrouded in corruption, intimidation, and ruthless ambition. He had spent years trying to seize control of Heartland and the surrounding land, and now it seemed he wasn't finished. Amy's fingers tightened around the fragile paper. The pieces of the past were finally falling into place, and the picture they painted was darker than she had ever imagined. Her mother had been caught in a web of deception, trusting the wrong people, making dangerous choices. And now those consequences had returned, knocking at Amy's door. But Amy wasn't just going to stand by and let history repeat itself. She had a ranch to protect, a family to stand by, and a mystery to unravel. The danger was closer than ever, and if she didn't act soon, she might lose everything. The storm wasn't coming, it was already here. Jack, ever the protector, had been trying to keep a cool head as Amy worked through the documents. But when he saw the depth of what she had uncovered, his face grew grim. "This isn't just about us anymore, Amy," he said. "This goes back a long way. The past has a way of coming back, and it's coming for us now." Amy nodded, her throat tight with the weight of the revelations. "What do we do, Jack? How do we fight this?" "We fight with everything we have," he said firmly. "We'll get to the bottom of this together, but we need to be careful. Rhodes is dangerous, and we don't know who else is involved." The next few days were a blur of frantic research, phone calls, and meetings with local law enforcement. Everyone involved in Heartland's history seemed to have their own secrets, their own part in the puzzle. And slowly, the pieces began to fall into place. Amy and Jack learned that Rhodes had once had a significant stake in Heartland's development, but his involvement had been masked by layers of deceit. He'd been using legal loopholes to manipulate situations, creating a network of allies and enemies in his wake. Now, it seemed that he was preparing to make his move. The discovery of a long-hidden battle over the ranch's ownership came as a chilling shock. Amy had always known that the ranch was important, a place that had been passed down through generations, a symbol of her mother's legacy. But she had never fully understood just how much it was worth to others. It wasn't just a piece of land, it was a pawn in a much larger game. And now, the stakes had never been higher. In a moment of clarity, Amy realized that the ranch, her family, and her very survival were all on the line. All of it was linked to the decisions Marion had made decades ago. The past wasn't just a series of mistakes, it was a chain of events that had set everything in motion. And now, the storm was coming. Amy was at its center. The tension around Heartland grew with each passing day. Everyone seemed on edge, their nerves frayed by the constant unease that had taken over the ranch. The horses were more restless than ever, and even the usually calm animals seemed to sense the danger closing in. Amy couldn't help but feel that the danger wasn't just outside, it was already inside, slowly infiltrating the very core of everything she had fought to protect. Then came the final sign, the one that made everything so much clearer. Late one night, as Amy was leaving the stables, she saw a shadowy figure standing at the edge of the ranch, just beyond the tree line. Her heart raced as she instinctively reached for her phone. But before she could make a move, the figure stepped forward into the moonlight, and she froze. It was Albert, Oliver's estranged brother. Amy's breath caught in her throat. She had heard whispers about Albert, a man who had stayed out of the family's dealings, always keeping his distance from the darkness that surrounded his brother. But here he was, standing in front of her, his face expressionless, his eyes filled with something she couldn't quite place. "Albert," Amy said, her voice barely above a whisper. He didn't speak at first, just stared at her with a look that seemed to pierce right through her. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he spoke, his voice low and urgent. "You have no idea what you're dealing with, Amy. Your mother thought she could escape it, but there's no escaping the past. Oliver is coming for everything she built, and it's not just the land he wants, it's the legacy. It's you." Amy's mind raced, her heart pounding in her chest. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice trembling. Albert's gaze hardened. You're the final piece of the puzzle. You don't know it yet, but you're part of something much bigger than yourself. And if you don't act fast, there won't be a Heartland left to protect. His words hung in the air like a heavy fog. Amy didn't know what to believe, but one thing was certain. The past wasn't done with her, and the stakes were higher than she could have ever imagined. The battle for Heartland was no longer just about land. It was about survival. And Amy was running out of time. Then we fight back.